New Delhi it is, and our focus on the conversation this morning is on the Commonwealth Day celebration, a celebration that takes place within all the Commonwealth nations, to foster and promote a particular goal or a common cause. It's a celebration that takes place annually, really, on the second Monday in the month of March. And we have in the studio with us individuals who will actually be telling us really on the import and the importance of these celebrations and how we can also elevate this conversation such that it will have more impact really on individual lives of citizens of those who belong to the Commonwealth of nations. I have in the studio with me from my immediate right, Comrade EMMANUEL. He is the coordinator, Commonwealth Youth Organization, Nigeria, Ogun State Chapter. It's a pleasure having you in the studio with us.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning, sir. And we have also in the studio, MOJISOLA AKINSANYA. She is the Executive Director, Women for Peace and Gender Equality Initiative. Is it WOPG?
Yeah.
WOPG. It's a pleasure having you join us in the studio with us.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Now, I'm sure quite a number of our viewers would actually be wondering, Commonwealth Day celebration, some persons are even getting to hear it maybe for the first time. Okay, so can you please give us a preamble, like a background really to this celebration?
Okay, Commonwealth Day celebration, it's a celebration that happens between all the 56 countries under the Commonwealth. And 56 countries, majorly there are countries in Africa, Asia, Pacific, Caribbean, the Americans, and some European countries. So most of the countries in Africa that are governed by the British colony at that time under and speak English, so we call them Anglophone countries under the Commonwealth. But there are some exceptions to that. There are some countries that actually join that are never colonized by the British, just like a country in North Africa like that. So they come together to celebrate, to make sure that they have a common goal and push for a particular goal every year. Apart from that, they also celebrate the Commonwealth Heads of Government meetings, which happens, Nigeria hosted it in 2003, and which happened that they rotated. This year is going to happen in Samoa. It's a country in the Pacific as well. So they push for common goals. They support each other in terms of education, in terms of trade, economic, and cultural diversity. So those are the things that actually happen in the Commonwealth countries. And they encourage youth. So we actually have the Youth Forum under the Commonwealth celebration, and they also encourage children to know the history and to know what happened during the Commonwealth processes.
Now, still talking about a preamble, like a background really, I'm sure many would also not know that the celebration was actually tagged Empire Day at some point really, and then before it was renamed Commonwealth Day in 1958. Can you tell us what informed that change of name, really?
Can you come again? Sorry. The Empire Day?
Yes, it was formerly Empire Day, and it was renamed really Commonwealth Day celebration in 1958. What really informed that choice, that decision to change the name, really?
I don't go down into such history. Probably viewers at home will start, looking at such processes and looking for things to read about the Commonwealth. But I'm sure that the Queen of England at that time, Queen Elizabeth, was head of the Commonwealth. And, they have their own logo, they have their own enclaves that they have colonized. And so they call it Empire Day, but I don't know what really happened, why it was changed to Commonwealth Day. So probably it's something that we can, learn more and engage with our audience, especially the children.
Okay, well, now, Comrade Emmanuel Enitan Ojo, you're the coordinator for Commonwealth Youth Organization Nigeria State chapter. The theme for this year's celebration is One Resilient, Common Future, Transforming Our Commonwealth. We'll also note that, the day is next Monday, is 11th March, it's celebrated, second Monday in March, but this is quite preparatory to that celebration. Can you tell us more about this theme, One Resilient, Common Future, Transforming our Commonwealth? When are we really going to transform our Commonwealth? Because I know that Commonwealth has small developing countries and developed countries. So just looking, here we just come to gather for formality's sake. And after, I know the role Commonwealth played, when there's apartheid in South Africa, the racial, slurs and all of that. But these days it's more of, formality over action. There's more on the processes than implementation. Will this year be different?
Okay. Thank you very much. As you all know that the theme of the year is One Resilient Common Future. The resilience is ability to identify the challenges that are facing the young people in terms of climate change, economics, uncertainty, and social issues. How can we now transform all those things in line with the theme of the year? We can have the transformative skill acquisition. The way people are learning job, we want to transform it. People are learning job in traditional way. In this year, as we identify the challenges that we have, Commonwealth Day in Ogun State, we are flagging off a particular program that is going to focus on how to transform from where we are now, from the analog skill acquisition that we have been practicing, to transformative one, that people will have opportunity to have their shop online without looking for normal traditional outlets. We have the idea of collaboration within each other, like two barbers in one shop that can share the same light, that can share the same sort of internal revenue to the government. Through that, the transformative idea of this, the topic, we implement by set up some mechanism that will make people to cope about the resilience that we have in Nigeria now. We have the economic hardship. Everybody knew that the economic hardship is down. Everybody is now looking for another way to transform from where they are to another level. So what we are now looking at this year is the One Resilient Common Future. It means that we need to move from where we are to another level.
Okay. Now to Mrs. MOJISOLA AKINSANYA. So, what are your expectations this year? Still on that particular theme, One Resilient, Common Future, particularly for women. Yes, in the face of economic, hardship, he talked about, skill acquisition, which is one of the ways, to go basically.
Well, I can say you asked a question that leads to that. So I'm going to start from that are we actually sharing the Commonwealth? Is it not just a talk show during the processes? What is the implementation plan? And when you look at it, when countries come together, there is always a bilateral or multilateral, agreement and so on. I can say that Nigeria being with the Commonwealth countries have actually pushed us into so many policies that is happening at the national level. And it's not about just talking about having Commonwealth alone. It's about looking at the laws of the land, looking at how we shape our conversation towards policy implementation. For example, you talk about gender equality, which is just one of the common themes that the Commonwealth have. You hardly see anything that the Commonwealth countries are doing without making sure that they do gender mainstreaming in it, because that is part of the theme of Commonwealth. And coming to women, showing resilience in terms of this economic hardship we're facing in Nigeria right away. I will tell you that whether we like it or not, so many countries in the Commonwealth are also facing such things. And it's a process that is a situation where we have to come together and actually look inward to look at what are the solutions. How could I get out of this? And for example, I will tell you, so many women have issues of, let's take food security, for example, food insecurity, post-harvest loss in the rural areas where there is no vehicle to carry all the the harvest to the down to the market center because of high cost of transportation. So we'll start talking to rural women about how about looking for innovative ideas to make sure that they can solve this problem, co-sharing of vehicles, talking to government. So if government of Ogun State, for example, can give urban city all those e-buses, what happens to giving the rural areas some camster that use electric or gas to reduce the drudgery, to reduce the overburden load of bringing their vehicles, their produce to the market center. So we're actually not seeing the women on the table, and that is making that gap to be very, very wide in terms of who is going to be affected at most. A lot of food are in the rural area, but it is not about food alone. They are going to survive. There are so many things needed for them to be survived during this, to show resilience. So even talking about youth can come together and build an innovative hub to make sure they can do things together. You've seen youth that learn barbing, some that learn shoemaking, some that learn tailoring, hairdressing and all that. What happens if government can build, or if they themselves can do all these community carnivals during Christmas or any festive period? How can youth come together now to, pull resources together? Let's just, draw a small community up center whereby we buy a big generator there. We support each other by maintaining the generator, sourcing fuel for it. Instead, for each person to be having generator in their houses. Yeah, so those are some of the processes they can
actualization of these processes, because that's one of the criticisms that we talk extensively on. We will do this, we will do that. But what about the actualization?
I'm saying that I started with inward. What can you do yourself? Leave government to what we are talking about. Leave government about policy, and implementation will start from individual. Then if you can think about it, you can do it. If youth sit in the CDC or CDA in the community come together, they spend a lot of money on this first community carnivals and all that. For this year, we are not going to do carnival. Let's get X amount of money. Let somebody do budget for us. If we can build this big center, boys come together to build a viewing center in communities. I don't know. For football.
Yes.
So why can't we divert all those resources and build a hub? By the time they are doing it, let me tell you, it's like a model. Somebody somewhere will see them and will come there and support. But if you don't start, nobody will see you. The implementation will not start from government. It will start from each individual by thinking about it and making sure they go out there and build an action. And that is why society organizations like Commonwealth Youth Organization is like coming together, brainstorming about what else can they do to strengthen their capacity about doing innovative things. We cannot be doing things since 1960 where we have independence and still expect that we are going to get different results. We are still doing it in the same way. But how can we change that narrative ourselves? Don't expect government to do anything for us. Don't expect them. Government have their own problem, and the problem cannot be solved together in one day. But what are the processes? What are the things that we are thinking? You know, we have to now, the theory of change is there. How can we change things? How can, you start learning, even women start learning about theory of change to make sure that this thing happens. There's transformative things that must happen within yourself, in your brain, before you can bring it in the midst. And you can't do it alone. That means you must join a movement, a youth movement or a women movement, to make sure that I have this idea, let's look at it together. I've seen a rural women group in Kenya where they have been talking about they don't have school for about 20 years, and children are suffering. When their children are going to school, they have to enter a boat, and you travel time and all that, and when there is a big rain, there is a lot of issue of accidental boats. These women, they are all illiterate. They are doing village savings contribution. So one day one of them said, why can't we build school together? Why do we have to wait for government? So they put the resources together and start with those 3 classrooms, and they use direct labor. They did everything, and the government, the governor of that district saw them, of somebody put it on Facebook, and they came say, so women that are illiterate can do this, so let's support them. And so they replicate all those things in Kenya and in Uganda. So how can you start, resourcing, researching what has been done in terms of resilience? So I'm not campaigning, don't wait for government, but the change must start within individual.
Definitely, I cannot agree less. I mean, you just echoed the thought of the former president of the United States, John F. Kennedy. I mean, who said that think not of what your country can do for you, but what you can actually do for your country. But whether we like it or not, I mean, people will say everything rises and falls on leadership. And when we talk about leadership, we are talking about the government. I mean, it's not a case of we not having the resources in Nigeria. I mean, even it was the EMDB president who was saying, despite the humongous multi-billion-dollar resources that we have in this country, I mean, in this continent, the continent still remains, I mean, one of the poorest, really, in the world. Now, on your part, as the youth, Commonwealth youth arm, really, we know that government have all of these bilateral relations and all of these MOUs and all of these that is signed at that level. Do you interface really with government to see and ensure that government fulfill their own part of the deal? They set in motion some of these agreements that is signed at that level, that top level really. You may not really be there at that top level when governments sit down with other nations, Commonwealth nations, to make these agreements and to sign. But of course, you know of all of these things that is signed there. But do you interface with them regularly to remind them and call their attention to all of these agreements that is signed to, really, all of those parts they signed to over there?
Yeah, that is the high-level advocacy that we do from the level of the Commonwealth youth. That we normally visit a government agency to checkmate the policy that government has put in place for a particular program. You know, the problem that we have in Nigeria now, it is not all the time that we youth, we have the influence to checkmate the government. But every time we come out with one voice, that this thing must be done right, government will change their policy a bit. But we don't really have the capacity to checkmate the government. That is the bitter truth about the government policy. But we try as much as possible to remind them, to let them know that we are aware that this thing has been in place. How can you place them? How can you arrange all these things to be done properly? Those are the advocacy that we do to government agency.
Now, let us also look at the Commonwealth Day celebration, really. What are usually the activities lined up, really, for this celebration, particularly that of this year?
Actually, we have kickstarted the Commonwealth Day on the 1st of March. On the 1st of March, we've been to the radio to do sensation to people, how people to resilient to the national hardship, how people will not go out of their mind that because I don't have money, I have to go and take alcohol, to go and sit down somewhere else and commit some bad thing to the community. All those things we have started out since 1st of March. And this year, as I rightly said, we are trying to flag off the transformative skill acquisition on that 11. That people will have opportunity to pick the choice of their training among the fashion designing, hairdressing, shoemaking, in a transformative way. That is not going to be the traditional way that people are learning it. This time around, we are trying to just transform the scale acquisition to another level, that people will see it as new innovation idea. People will say that, okay, if someone is doing this thing at this transformation way, I can patronize you without having a shop. We are trying to just set a particular place for our youth that they can have collaboration, that can be a kind of hub. Okay, 2 or 3 people can make use of this place, have a common idea, common goal. From there, people, they will start growing instead of them to be roaming about. Those are the things that we are setting up.
Have you tested the workability of some of these things that you talk about? I mean, because I know that some of these ideas probably are things that probably you saw around maybe other Commonwealth nations, and then you decided to bring them down. But again, you know, domesticating some of these things are also very, very important because they could fly in some other climes. They necessarily not mean they will fly here. I mean, because we talked about 2 barbers sharing the same shop, and we know how that can actually cause some unhealthy rivalry.
Okay,
between
let me just come into that. Well, in theory of change, there is no time you want to change dynamics of any process, that there will be no challenges. But how do you now train all those people involved about capacity building to show resilience? So there will be a capacity building already about teamwork, about conflict resolution, conflict mechanism, there will be committee to resolve conflict and things like that. But let me just tell you, you can have 3 barbers in a shop and doing 3 different things. They have different creativity. For example, a hairdresser now would say, she's very good in braiding, but she doesn't know how to fix wigs. Specialization. So there are some things like that. So we want to bring that for every individual. There are some potentials in you that are unique to you. It's just like a fingerprint that are unique to you, that you will do in a different way. So if we don't start looking at, there will be problem. Definitely there will be no change. And that theory of change won't work. But when you strengthen the capacity of youth, they will get to a point, it's like point 1, they'll get to 2, they'll get to 3. Before you know it, all these things we're talking about, it has been happening in Lagos even before this economic hardship happens. They have hubs, they have offices where they share together in the islands. We have seen it a lot. But what happened to communities like this when the standard of living, they cannot cope with it going to Lagos? All they have to resolve, we cannot open our eyes. There are a lot of youth falling back into poverty because of the hardship. Going into drop is too much. So why not come and look at all those social ills, try to bring answers to them, instead of just leaving this youth to say, things like that. So you just have to keep on pushing for progress. If this thing works, then if you don't start to see how it works and the challenges, you cannot know the solution you are going to bring to it. Definitely. So you have tailors that will say, I can only sew menswear, babariga and all that. And you can see a ladies tailor that say, I can only sew baby dresses. So their customers will not be the same. Are you getting me? Even people doing adre, for example, they have hub in Asheyo, they have hub in Toku. How are those local women coming together, doing our duet together, producing it for years. So it's an all, it's a traditional all. And they have been doing it, but nobody look at them that there are some resonance in what they are doing. Because when you go to Idiaro in Itoku, you see about 50 people having different Idiaro. And do you get it? And you want to tell me that because I'm doing Adiele, or this one is looking at my design, is cheating. No, there's nothing like that in what they are doing. They do it, with love, with a lot of, empathy, with a lot of cultural intelligence. Yami, she actually talking with my dada. They ask questions. So that is resilience. Yeah. So it has been there traditionally, but because we don't document what they are doing, we don't see it, and that is why we believe it has never happened in our clan. It's happening already. You see people doing gari processing. They have the different ops and the big shade, and they do it together. It's the same business. So but all they do is they bring the resources together. The machine that will grind the cassava is one, because they want to use that one machine. That is why you have all those women, surrounded in that big shade, but they are from different households, different market, and they are doing their daily. So that is the traditional of. So how can we now look at the digital age that we are now and bring digital technology? Even youth can do so many things with internet. Why can't you now bring that energy? And that their strong way of doing digitalization. I can stay in my room and say I'm a Baba, and all my customers will be on Instagram, and we have different times to come. I'm in this shop. And they will come to you directly because you are personalizing your marketing strategy. So digital solution to all this up is how we want to now interfere that resilience with youth. Even being there that, because solution is a Baba, and I don't see him leaving the role. He will be there, even when there is no customer. He will be playing music, he will be there. It can change an attitude of the youth that is always, after one major customer is out to go and have drug space. Do you get me? But because he has seen a behavioral change in somebody that's influenced, like his peer, say, don't take a man because they always see him there. So it can change another youth and change another youth. And that behavioral change that we're talking about, you can move it in again. So cohabitating, co-operating together, it's not about there will be conflict, but it's going to bring a sort of common goal, and they will share the common words. Somebody knows how to speak English very well, and they have an English client. And because I can't speak English, but I have, I have that potential, that skill. They know I can do very well. That best but I can't speak English, and one Igbo guy walked in. He can't speak Yoruba. There's a guy cohabiting, can speak English, can actually support that person to negotiate, to talk and communicate with that client. And nobody will get that client without going because of communication barrier. So those are the resilience we're talking about. So until we start all those things.
Another thing that I want to add on to that, transformation is not a magic. It is by process. After we set up all these things, we're going to set up evaluation process. People are not used to this thing before. By the time we set up that evaluation process to our own skill acquisition program, that evaluation process will now be the outcome of what people has been doing for months or weeks. By the time we end up the program within 1 year, we'll be able to do our proper evaluation that Pare and Kende they are ready to work together. Kende and Idowu, they are ready to work together. Common goal. Those are the things that we are looking at.
Okay, comrade, because Commonwealth of 50 countries, 56
56
countries, coming together to promote, prosperity, democracy, and global peace. It seems to be more about the last two, democracy and peace. We talk about prosperity here because in Yoruba, Commonwealth is Kajola. So Commonwealth formed in 1949 or 45, and we can still talk about Commonwealth among these nations. Go to Francophone countries, there's a semblance of development. There are similarities. There are things you find in Cameroon. Go to Ivory Coast, you find the same thing. There's a system that works somehow. UK, for instance, we know if you want to study in UK, despite the fact that Nigeria is an English-speaking country, we still have to write IELTS, some exams just to ascertain the English proficiency. So what I'm now talking about, people want to see more, bilateral relations among Commonwealth nations. Look at BRICS, for example. Nations now want to join BRICS because they are seeing that, the way they are moving, the way these BRICS countries, Russia, India, South Africa, China, the way they are working together, people want to see more of this.
Well, let me just take you on that. When you look at the Francophone and the Anglophone country, there are so many things that are happening that I don't want to say Francophone country is actually having that Commonwealth together. They have their own major challenges that is deep and political. But when you look at Anglophone country, I would say we're rather doing it, we're rather pushing it forward. The way when the UK came out of Brexit, you will see that policies about African countries within that Commonwealth circle changes. And you can see that they actually, one of the countries that started this Japa syndrome, they actually want our youth to come over to UK to work, to have opportunities, to have education and all that. But it was not that happening before Brexit and after COVID, because of all those things. And the care system to nurses and all that and doctors. So you see a lot of coming. So in terms of policy coherence, you see that they have relaxed a little bit. And coming to all these IELTS proficiency tests, that is why we always talk about theory of change. Let me tell you as we speak now, there are universities that are taking it in Europe, there are some in US, UK, just like that. But do you know that some guys, just after COVID, they actually challenged that. And they got a lot of signatory online that how can we be English speaking and you still have to do this? And some of the school changes. Now, about 80% of schools in UK are not taking it again. They've relaxed. So in other words, if you sit down about policy and you don't talk about it, you just grumble, and there's nobody doing action, it will remain like that. So that is why we have bodies like Commonwealth Organization, we have women-led organizations that are pushing for progress. And people don't see what NGOs are actually doing. Change.org, NGOs are there day in, day out, engaging about policy coherence, engaging about how you can support and remove inequalities between countries. I've seen Commonwealth countries. I was once with a mission in Papua New Guinea, very close to Australia. They are blacks, they are poor. Their economy is just like 1960, when Nigeria was like 1960. But they are Commonwealth country. Do you know their passport? It's free visa to UK, to Canada, to New Zealand, to Australia, and so many countries. You don't need, just collect your passport and get your air ticket and you are there. And do you believe that this country, when we did the sampling when I was there, about 0.1% have international passport. They don't even have information about opportunities that are there. They are the only country in the whole world that have not used the American lottery schools. They are the only country in the Pacific that they will be pulling that come and get free scholarship in Australia. But they said they don't like going to Other spaces, rather, they are comfortable because culturally, they don't like to live in their comfort zone. Naturally, in their cultural norm, when a man's married, when they have a big compound, let's say there are 5 boys in that compound, when the boy is married, he will bring his wife to that compound. The boy is not allowed to go out to build his own empire. So that is how the norm, cultural norm. So it is the cultural norm that is, stagnating such person. But they have to identify, have to identify this stagnation, what is really happening. And that is why they are not mixing culturally, and that is why development was so slow there. So they are not mixing culturally. They don't want anybody to direct their values, their share norms, and all that. So it's a Commonwealth country. So you want to tell me that it's a policy that is delaying them, or what is gagging them is their own cultural diversity. So it's the point. The dynamics is it's actually different. You can look at South Africa. The way they would treat South Africa is different from the way they treat Nigeria, because we are bad media, international media, over the years when the military, were governing us, and we are still in that chain now. Except that people are now coming in to say Nigeria are the best doctors in US. Nigeria are the best things in ICT. Let me tell you, the country I'm talking about, the ICT space in that country is Nigeria heading it. The first medical school in the one university they have in that country is led by Nigeria. The first mosque is built by Nigeria from Ede in that country. So, and it's 52 hours to Nigeria by air. So tell me. 52 hours? Yes. So tell me, I used about 3 years there. So tell me, they are Commonwealth country. So tell me, if a lot of Nigerians should have opportunity to move into that space, you will see how they expand and develop that country.
But I mean, what about Nigerians now developing Nigeria? Because people talk about brain drain. Will this ever lead to brain gain? And that now leads us to maybe the exploitative, argument in some quarters. Like, we Commonwealth nations, tomorrow UK may come and say, we need teachers. So they would deplete, from our own, manpower. They say they need more doctors. They would deplete our own manpower. So it's as if they are using our resources to develop. And we're talking about Commonwealth here. Is this not exploitative?
Well, it depends on the way you see the side of the coin that is facing you. Do you understand? Assuming Nigeria government wake up today and say, we are going to have policy, nobody can go outside this country again to UK or to anything. Let me tell you, Nigeria will rise and we will fight it.
But they're undemocratic.
Yeah. So the thing is that we have a population that is booming every day. That's why there are a lot of family planning thing we are doing. We are the first nation that our population is, doubling every day. I saw somebody with this article, I saw somebody in the village. I was doing outreach the last 2 weeks. Said, Kimi, I just gave back. I said, after how many? He said, this is the fourth one. I said, I should be more. So I was like, so this hardship, people are not getting into them that even by the point, they won't tell us before the family will say just one kid, like what China did. Do you get? But we believe that it will be normal. It will be okay. Our population is too wide. There's no way Nigerian population with our brain and smartness that countries will not pull out. The push and the pull effect. Yeah. Do you get it? The push is that there will be economic hardship. The education will down. The hospitals will down. So push. Then they pull the youth out. Come and get opportunity. That is a business strategy with nations, and it's happening. Let me tell you, go to Sierra Leone, go to Malawi, and see how Nigeria is governing. The way China are doing in Nigeria, that is the way we are doing in all those countries. When you get out from Freetown on the airport at Freetown, when you land at the Freetown airport in Sierra Leone, you'll be surrounded by Atlantic Ocean. Whatever is going, how you are going to get to town is by a boat. So everybody pay $100 to ride. There is no car at the airport, it's only the boat. Tell me how many ferries and boats that are owned by Abeokuta, Dangote, and the likes, all the rich and the philanthropists, they have their boats there. Now let me tell you, all the commodities that they eat in Sierra Leone, Indomie, spaghetti, salt, are made by Nigerians. They are Dangote products. So let me tell you, are we sharing the Commonwealth? How do you rate that? Those countries have worked there, and this is what I see. In Malawi, traditionally they build with the red brick. So Nigeria, when they are to tell them about real estate, this and Dangote build a big hub for cement. Cement is cheaper in Malawi than Nigeria now. And it's being produced by Dangote. And it's a landlocked country without a seaport to bring things in. So if things is going to land in Malawi, first of all, land in South Africa, and they bring it through road transport to Malawi. So what I'm saying that the dynamics is that kilo kojusie, kilo kensi. So what we are seeing now is resettling. After COVID, this thing will happen naturally. Resettling the Commonwealth, shifting. You will see it will shift back. Let me just tell you, we may not be here when it will shift back, but what they have in Europe, in UK, in America, it will shift back to Africa at the time.
And it remains to be seen when would that time?
That I know, it will shift back.
Maybe
because those people that remain at home, we are developing ourselves. We are not stopping. Have you seen any Nigerians stopping? Despite all this hardship, they are not stopping, we are moving. We are creating things.
But when you look at the number of, the humongous number of out-of-school children, the endemic poverty, then you tend to say, oh, are we really moving? The way we should move, or are we moving in circles?
Okay, let me give you for example. During Buhari, when the development partners are coming to Nigeria, they say there is no poor person in the southern part of Nigeria. We have everything. They have education, they have hospitals, they're exposed, they can travel. And so the government converses and advocates that all development projects should go to the northern part, especially the Bay States. Bay State is Adamawa, Yobe, and what's the B in it? So after 8 years, they did an evaluation that the poverty level reduced. They are back to 0.0 again. So poverty alleviation programs, or poverty, trying to bring people out of poverty, it's not something you can do easily. No matter how you plunge your resources, people that will fall back to poverty, that doesn't want to live there, are going to be there.
But those that want to live,
but you will see some.
China did it, so
that will live. Well, I'm not saying alleviating poverty. You have now to look at how to transform people first before you say you want to alleviate poverty. I think it is in you. How poverty will leave you.
But providing facilities too, before we said this, we have regular power supply. That alone will push some people out of poverty.
Yeah,
no funds, organizations, individuals spend just on power, daily, monthly, yearly. So that's alone power projects. Like when you go to Cameroon, go to Ghana, Togo, Ivory Coast, the power is regular.
Power is not regular in Ghana. I'm going to change the narrative for you because I've worked there. It's only in Accra. They go to Tamale, but the West. It's the same thing. But they push that narrative out to bring international donors to their country. Let's get it right.
When I stay in Cape Coast, there was no power outage. So I'm talking
Which year is that?
I'm talking about experience. 2018.
Okay. Cape Coast, I can say agree with you.
And I went to Accra, just like you said.
Accra, it's stable. Accra, that stability too is that doesn't mean they are interrupted. It is interrupted in Accra too. And the only thing they will announce in radio, so it's going to be interrupted for 4 hours, or 3 hours, or 5 hours, but there is no stable electricity in Ghana.
So let me add my voice to that exploitation that you were talking about the other time. That's some Commonwealth country, they are exploiting the manpower from Africa. You know, this Nigerian, if you check the statistic of the youths that are creating every year, is over 6 million. Where do we have the 6 million job? If a country is now offering me a job in UK, and they are ready to give me all what it takes to meet my standard of living, will you advise me to stay back behind? No, absolutely no. That is not exploitation. It is by transiting from my old way of life to new way of life. If I have the opportunity to travel to Canada to work, it is not that they are exploiting me. They want to give me the opportunity. We are, you know, across the board, everybody has their own problem. The problem that is facing the youth in Nigeria now, there is no availability of job. People, they don't have access to easy job at a particular point in time. So once you now have the opportunity elsewhere, you have to move. But if a government can set a policy that between the age of 18 to 35, if you have this potential, you cannot move out of the country, you know, people they are still going to come on and meet that. No. Under the democratic law, they will still agitate for that. But once you have opportunity to move from one space to another, it is normal. It's not about exploitation. See what happened in UK. For instance, they just closed their border because they realized that most of the Africans, Lebanese, India, they have been everywhere in UK. Even they are looking for work now, they don't see the job. But what are we talking about exploitation in that area? It is by moving from one space to another. They are not exploiting anybody. But they are giving us a kind of room that you can practicalize what you have that you cannot be able to practicalize in your own country, in our own country. That is what the other Commonwealth country are trying to do. You know, when you have opportunity to do something meaningful in another man's country, it is a great opportunity.
Now, we know that people don't just leave Nigeria. I mean, let's take Nigeria as a case study. People don't just leave Nigeria because they are jobless. We've seen people who have lucrative jobs even in Nigeria, but because the economy and the society really is not really encouraging, and so they want to go to a better place that is promising for them and even for their children. And when we talk about a promising society and economy, I mean, we are talking about the leaders doing all what they need to do within the confines of the law to ensure that things will go well. And in doing that, we know that the youth have a serious and a huge role really to play in ensuring that we have the right set of people, because only the right set of people in leadership can do the right thing for the society. Now, what roles really do you play also during elections, particularly in terms of sensitizing the young people to participate by voting for the right set of persons, and then to also participate by contesting elections. I mean, those who really have what it takes, you know, to contest elections and deliver.
During the last election, then I was the coordinator of National Youth Council, Abeokuta North. I was the capacity that I was then. We tried then to let people know their right to register for the voters card. It is when you have the voters card, that is when you have the knowledge of how to vote. Then we did that during that time. But when I became the coordinator of Commonwealth, the sensitization we are now trying to put in place. If you know you fall in the age bracket of 18 to 35, try as much as possible, just register yourself to to any close INEC office to your own territory, so that you have right to vote. Some people, if you are telling them to vote, they don't have the voter's card. It is the person that has the voter's card that you will preach to that person that it will listen to you. Even the person listening to you don't have the voter's card. The first thing that we are trying to do now is immediately the federal government announced that the registration for the new voter's card is on. We try as much as possible to mobilize our youth. Every part of the local government across the Ogun State, that you guys just have to go and register so that you can get your voter's card. From then, that is where we can now push them to vote. But for us, for those people that have interest in politics, you know, it is something that is huge, because they said youth of today, it is leaders of tomorrow. We have been hearing that over 2 decades. And I think our father, our grandpa, they are not ready to leave this space. But we are trying to just move close to the power. You can see there is a change. When the new president emerged, a lot of youth has asked the opportunity to be at the corridor of power. And this has given us a kind of idea that if we push more, we're still going to have more space. The next election, bet it with me, we are going to have more than what we have now in the next administration. That is what we are working towards.
Let me just speak to that a bit.
Okay.
Looking at the terrain of Nigeria and elections, I've been an international election observer for the past 12 years, and that makes me to travel to different countries. Election dynamics is different in different spaces, and there are some things that happen before that election. First of all, let's look at our selection process. Primary election is the real election, not the general election. Because it is what the leading party gives you that you have. It may not be your choice. So it's what they give you on the table that is your choice. Then when you have country with a large diversity like Nigeria, there is a condition in that our local. Even when that our local cannot do it, the conditioning body, elite, the youth, the women will believe that is the road. So no matter the voter education, civic education you're doing, that vote right, do it right, you may not get your answer. For example, civil society in Ogun State, every election season, what we do is social contract with all the candidates. We go to all the works in Ogun State and ask them, what do you want to see on the priority for this governor that is coming in? Be it in terms of economy, in terms of women participation, in terms of youth participation, and all that. We have our own checklist, and we collect all those things. Then we draft the People's Manifesto. So during the campaign season, we bring all the candidates to come and share. This is People's Manifesto. Don't bring your own manifestos to us, but this is what people's words. So they sign a social contract with the people. We have challenged. We challenged Abusu during his tenure. We challenged Abeokuta during the first time. So we use People's Manifesto. Those are the social accountability tools that civil society can use, and we'll be using that. You can vote for whoever you like, but this is our evaluation. This is what we say. And there is no way we come out with our own report that it doesn't, talk to how that person is performing at the end of the day, because we have seen it during that people manifestos processes. We have seen it all. We'll tell you, this is how this government is going to do, and this is what will happen after 3 years. And we have predicted a lot. So many states have been doing it, but it started with Ogun State, and it's like a model to so many states. At the national level now, we are doing a manifesto, which I'm part of that process too. We take the social contracts to the president to ask him. But let me tell you something. You may not see that Nigerian youth are voting wisely, but Nigerian youth did something after COVID, which is EndSARS. The EndSARS movement is like a governance movement challenging the way they are governing us, challenging the way the infrastructure is, challenging the way the rule of law is. So those youths did that, and that is why you are seeing, let me tell you, if they don't do that exercise, you will never see any youth in this presidential list of participation. You can see so many youths that came in. It's because of EndSARS. All of them have that common voice. They came together, although so many people died, but then they achieved something. I keep on saying it.
It also came at cost, looking at the destruction.
Yeah.
Some will say, oh, it was hijacked, you know, by some people. So,
but there's no gain without loss.
Yeah, you have to sacrifice something before you can gain something.
Honestly.
The question will now be that is the gain outweighing the loss, really?
Yes, I can see the voice of the youth. Let me see the Qatari mission that the government went. Other youths in that circle, in the presidential circle, they want to fix everything. I met with the Minister for ICT in New York, high-level political forum last year, in New York, and he was talking with all the who is who, bringing resources and opportunities to Nigeria. I was there. So if this is not there, there is no person, no age bracket of 50, 60, 70 that can talk about digital technology.
Now, let's talk about the exploitation really that my colleague raised earlier on. It has been a conversation really over the years that perhaps there is something called neocolonialism that is still going on really in Africa. And I mean, quite a number of persons also wished it away. Even the big powers, you know, the Western powers also wished it away, that nothing of such is happening. But what we have seen really in the Francophone countries in recent times really showed that there is, it appears neocolonialism is happening in that region. But do you think it is also happening subtly in the Commonwealth really? And probably those of us who are very far from the center of action really may not really be seeing it.
Well, it depends on how you want to classify neocolonialism. Let me just tell you something. There is no Nigeria that did Chapa. Do interview for 10 of them there. They actually want to come back home.
Yes.
Do interview for 10, 9 you want to come back home.
9?
Do you know why?
Given the right circumstances.
Right circumstances. Because even their weather alone,
Definitely.
it's
No place like home.
yeah, it's not okay for our skin. It's not okay for our the way our environment is. Let me tell you, I was in Canada to do a course for like 2 months. And I went around April when they said the snow is going down. The snow is not going down. I got there, let me tell you, I got there, I have opportunity to stay back. I couldn't stay because I was not, wired to be indoors with a lot of blanket on my head, and they say we are working and the bones is paining me.
But the American Nigerians have that.
No, let me just tell you, what I'm saying is that their own citizen too. It's because you don't even know the dynamics. Their own citizen, either UK or America, they always want to have mission to come to Africa. Do you know that? The way we are saying that we want to get back, they too want to come. And when you see UN missions, you see at least 85% are Europeans. Why? Because they want to come to Africa.
But they are not flying to Africa.
Because they live there. We go to mission, they live there, they stay there.
They jump back to Africa for
because they're working in Africa. Some have worked for 10 years in Africa, they are not going back. Because they collect that money in their forests, in their own forest money. And they have good weather. And they are exposed to a lot of cultural diversity. They love scenery in Africa more than us. We don't take it as a big deal. We keep it friendly weather. So when one mission the contract is expiring, you will see how they lobby and advocate. Then we're looking at them that you don't want to go back to your country. Say, I'm not going back. Please, I want to renew this contract. So it's the same thing because we are not seeing their own head. That is why. So how will you talk to the government to say our own children is coming to Africa because there are opportunities there for missions and all that? Let's term it. Let's say they pick a Nigeria to go and work in Ghana. When I worked in Ghana, I was treated like an expatriate, and I collect my money in forex. So you will tell me that I should go to UK when I have opportunity here in Ghana. What is my own with UK?
Well, yeah.
So another thing is that how is our youth open to process information about opportunities? What I know is that there are many opportunities in countries in Africa than UK. That is where I'm going. So if they move EMMAs to Malawi like this, Malawi don't have a single people. Tell me how the school uniform in their primary school, what they are wearing. Ask me that question. They bring from Europe, they bring, what do they call it? Akube, fairly used. Uniform from UK, and they distribute it, they sell it in open market as uniform because there is no tailor. So how can we now say, I want to do something, let me bring tailor, train them and build a big org in Malawi? Will you not say Nigeria is exploiting them? How will you rate that? We are Commonwealth countries. They are speaking English. It's because our leaders are not seeing opportunities within Africa, and our youth are not saying it. But what do you do? That's why you address after you look like a braid. When I do this kind of hair to them, say, how do you do it? Is it magic? Did they call a magic from a bottle and put it on my head? And I would look at them like, So then I would be asking myself, how do we even know it in Nigeria? You know, you try to trace history that we are colonized the same way. How do we know all this skill? And how are they not knowing this skill? Are they not the same Commonwealth country? So opportunities are within Africa that you don't need to go to all these countries with this harsh weather and you will make it back.
Well, interesting. We also have in many of these countries.
Yes.
Go to Ghana.
And let me tell you, Nigeria has the highest population in all those African countries, and that is why they look at us like, what kind of people are these people? And you know, when I was in a village, in Malawi, and I saw a shop, Chukwemeka plastic something. I started from the vehicle. I was so excited that I've seen. So I said, immediately he had that. He came out and said, you're from Nigeria. How do you come here? I was dressed in African Union. I said, I'm with African Union. This is your shop. I've been living here for the past 15 years. Look at my children. Look at everything. And he's selling like mad. If we go to South Africa to bring all the plastic bowls, they don't have single industry that produce plastic bowls. Bella that we use in bathroom, bucket, and all that. This is massive opportunities. Big warehouse, and you see a lot of people queuing. You give them time to buy. Tell me, if I have the opportunity, would I do that?
Well, I think many Nigerians are attracted to Canada, US.
Exactly. So we want to start changing
infrastructure.
When you find the white-skinned people.
Okay. Our time is really fast spent.
Okay.
But Comrade EMMANUEL Ojo, you're talking about skill acquisition the other time. I wanted to know how thorough would this be, and is Commonwealth bank holding this?
Okay.
Actually, we have prepared our mind that the transformative skill acquisition is going to come on board on the 11th of March. We're going to do the flag off by 11th of March at NUJ called Okelewo. On that day, we are going to pick youth across the 20 local governments to be benefit for that program, and they will have the training free of charge.
Once it's free, will it be? I hope it won't be like some skill acquisition trainings that just last for a month. The beneficiaries, what they
we have a process that we are going to set in place, and there's going to be evaluation process before they get the equipment free from us. They're going to get the equipment free as well, and we're going to set them up to start their livelihood.
What about the selection process?
We have done the selection process through the coordinator across the local government. Those are those Commonwealth members. It is not open to those people that are not our member. If you want to be part of the program, you have to be Commonwealth member. You have to join through the local government chapter. Through that, be able to benefit all the programs that are still in place.
Many will be hearing this for the first time.
So if you are interested,
membership fee to join.
It's affordable?
yes, just 1,500.
Okay.
So, but then that fee is not free per se, because anything that is free, they don't take it serious. They don't take it serious. They look at it as an handout, and once it's finished, they are through. But then they have patrons and matrons that are supporting them in this thing. Before, I was part of the Commonwealth Youth Organization before we graduated out of that. But we have half donor funding from Commonwealth Fund UK during our own time. And we use it, that was during HIV programming area where we do sensitization in all tertiary institutions in state and capacity, and that is where so many youth, getting capacity to, come into governance, come into things, into public health interventions and all the like. So most of the civil society that you see in Ogun State today, 80% of us started from Commonwealth Youth Organization. So it's something that you have inbuilt capacity. So there are some capacity that will be built. They will have to go from one level to another, one level to another. So it's going to be a thorough thing. Not that they are just coming for the skill acquisition, collect the equipment, and
It's going to be an evaluation process.
It's going to be a lot of follow-up, a lot of what are you doing, what are the challenges, what are the gaps, review it after 3 months and all that. And if you know you don't want to wait or stay, or you are not happy with what you are doing, there's some people on the wait list that all those things will be shifted to immediately. So as they are, training a batch, there's another batch on the wait list. So anybody that fall out from that program, even if we ask 10 people, 10 will not make it to the end, Abby. Yes. So if 2 people fall out, the wait list will fix it up, but the agreement you sign is that you cannot go with that.
Okay. And you are open to admitting more members?
Yes.
Okay. Dominic, I think we have to go upon this first sprint. It's been quite, robust discussion on the show. Well, it has always been, New Dawn, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So many thanks, Mrs. MOJISOLA AKINSANYA, the Executive Director for Peace and Gender Equality Initiative, WOPE. I beg your pardon. And our comrade Emmanuel ENITAN, the Coordinator, Commonwealth Youth Organization Nigeria, Ogun State Chapter. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure having you this morning. That's the show. Many thanks for watching. Well, Dominic and I will see you again next Wednesday. But New Dawn continues on Friday with another set of anchors. Then on Monday, the Yoruba version comes up every Tuesday and Thursday. Have a lovely day. Bye for now.